Fear only has the power you allow it to have. And right now, in this moment, you get to choose whether fear keeps running your life or whether you finally stand up and take back control. Because I know something about you deep down, you're tired. Tired of the hesitation. Tired of the voice that whispers you're not enough. Tired of the moments you look in the mirror and know you're capable of more, but feel chained by something you can't even explain. And I'm here to tell you that stops today. You don't crush fear by waiting for the perfect moment. You crush fear by stepping into the moment you're in and deciding you're done letting it dictate the direction of your life. Fear is a story, a pattern, a survival mechanism that once protected you but now keeps you from living the life you're meant to live. And if you're honest with yourself, you already know fear isn't your enemy, it's your compass. Whatever you're afraid to face is usually exactly what you must face to grow. Think about how many opportunities you've watched pass because fear convinced you that you weren't ready. Think about the relationships you were too scared to pursue, the dreams you kept postponing, the decisions you avoided because you didn't want to fail or be judged or feel uncomfortable. Every time you hesitate, fear grows stronger. Every time you take action, you grow stronger. That's the game. And the moment you realize you're the one holding the controller, everything changes though. Fear doesn't disappear. It transforms. And the way you transform it is by shifting your state, shifting your focus, and shifting your story. You must interrupt the pattern. You must disrupt the loop. When fear shows up, instead of backing away, you step forward. You say, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but I lead my life now." You breathe deeper. You stand taller. You reconnect with the strongest part of you, the part that has survived everything you've ever been through. You want to know what real power feels like? It's when fear knocks and you don't collapse. You open the door and say, "You're welcome to watch, but you don't get to drive." That's ownership. That's mastery. That's the moment you take control of your mind instead of letting your mind control you. And maybe you're thinking, "But Tony, I've been afraid for so long. I've been stuck for years. I don't know how to change." Yes, you do. You've always known. There's a part of you, the real you, that's been screaming for you to rise, to stop shrinking, to stop negotiating your greatness, to stop living in the shadows of your excuses. You think your fear is bigger than you. Impossible. If it were, you wouldn't be here listening to this. You wouldn't be hungry for more. There's a reason you want to break through, because you're built for more than the life fear has been offering you. You've been giving fear too much respect, too much authority, too much space in your mind. And I'm telling you, reclaim that space, reclaim that energy, reclaim that identity. Step into the version of you who acts decisively, who speaks boldly, who follows through, who doesn't need permission to rise. Every breakthrough begins with a single decision. I refuse to live controlled by fear. Say it, feel it, own it. Because when you make that decision, your brain starts reorganizing itself around your new standard. You stop looking for safety and start looking for possibility. You start choosing courage over comfort. You start choosing your future over your excuses. You're not here to survive fear. You're here to crush it. You're here to step into the arena of your life with power, with certainty, with the unshakable belief that you can handle whatever comes your way. You don't need the fear to go away. You need to rise above it. And you can, you will. Because deep inside you is a force that's been dormant, waiting for the moment you finally say, "Enough, I lead now." Your life changes the second you take control back from fear. And right now, that moment is here. It's yours. Take it. Fear loses its power the moment you decide to confront it instead of avoid it. And most people don't realize how deeply fear has woven itself into their daily decisions. It hides behind hesitation, behind excuses, behind the stories you tell yourself about why you can't, why you're not ready, why maybe someday will be better. Fear becomes this quiet voice shaping your choices without you ever consciously agreeing to it. But the instant you turn toward it instead of away from it, everything changes. Because fear feeds on avoidance. It grows in the shadows. It gains strength every time you retreat, every time you soften your voice, every time you shrink your presence, every time you abandon the thing you know you should do. Facing it isn't about eliminating it. It's about stripping away the illusion that it has any authority over your life. And when you confront fear, you start to see it for what it really is: a pattern, a signal, a learned response that doesn't represent your truth, your potential, or your future. Think about the moments in your life when you hesitated, not because the obstacle was impossible, but because fear convinced you that discomfort meant danger. It made you believe that uncertainty meant risk, that effort meant failure, that ambition meant exposure. Fear always exaggerates. It always magnifies, it always distorts. And the only way you neutralize its hold is by stepping directly in the very thing it warned you to stay away from. Because action exposes the lies. Action exposes the exaggerations. Action exposes the story you've been running unconsciously. When you confront fear, you don't just weaken it, you weaken the identity fear has built around you. The identity that whispers you're not ready, you're not capable, you're not worthy. But once you take even a single step toward the thing you've been avoiding, you experience something powerful. The realization that fear was never the barrier. The barrier was your belief in fear. The barrier was your willingness to obey that internal resistance without ever questioning it. As soon as you push through, as soon as you enter the space you've been avoiding, that psychological wall collapses. You start to understand that the danger wasn't real. The discomfort wasn't fatal. The challenge wasn't as overwhelming as your mind made it appear. And that realization becomes addictive. It becomes liberating. It becomes the foundation of confidence. Fear cannot survive in the presence of deliberate action. It cannot survive when you choose to lean into the moment instead of retreating from it. The very act of confronting fear rewires your nervous system. You shift from protection to expansion. You interrupt the old pattern that used to shut you down. You train your mind to associate fear with forward movement instead of retreat. And over time, that creates momentum. Momentum creates certainty. Certainty creates identity. You begin to see yourself not as someone who avoids difficult things, but as someone who confronts them. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to rely on your ability to handle discomfort rather than your desire to escape it. Most people are not held back by fear itself. They're held back by the belief that fear means stop. Fear was never designed to stop you. It was designed to alert you, to heighten your senses, to prepare you for action. But when you mistake that sensation for a warning sign instead of an activation point, you hand over control of your life to the very thing you're meant to rise above. The difference between people who stay stuck and people who break through has nothing to do with fear. It has everything to do with their relationship to fear. High achievers feel fear and move anyway. They feel the tension and use it as fuel. They feel the uncertainty and still decide to step forward. They confront it repeatedly until fear becomes familiar, predictable, manageable. Because once you confront fear enough times, you begin to recognize its patterns. You see how it always shows up right before growth. You see how it always intensifies right before a breakthrough. You see how it tries to protect you by keeping you small, by keeping you in routine, by keeping you in what's familiar. But you also recognize that the life you want will never exist inside the comfort you're used to. Confronting fear becomes a declaration of who you choose to be, not who your past conditioned you to be. It becomes the moment you stop negotiating with doubt and step fully into your capability. It becomes the moment you reclaim your power. Taking control begins with changing your state, your focus, and the story you tell yourself. Most people think control comes from having the perfect plan, the right timing, or the ideal circumstances. But control doesn't start on the outside. It starts with your internal world. It starts with how you breathe, how you move, how you speak to yourself, how you interpret the events happening around you. Every breakthrough you've ever had, every bold decision you've ever made began with an internal shift long before anything in your outer world changed. And this is why so many people stay stuck. They keep trying to rearrange their life without rearranging their inner state. They try to force action while their physiology is collapsing, their focus is scattered, and their internal dialogue is working against them. Your state is the foundation of everything. When your energy is low, when your posture is collapsed, when your breathing is shallow, your brain interprets that as stress. It goes into survival mode. It narrows your options. It exaggerates your problems. It makes fear feel bigger than it is. But when you change your state, when you lift your physiology, when you breathe deeply, when you move with intention, you send your brain a different message. You tell your nervous system you are safe, capable, ready. Your mind opens. Your confidence rises. You start to think from possibility instead of panic. That shift in state is not optional. It is the foundation for taking control of anything in your life. Change your body and you change your emotions. Change your emotions and you change your decisions. Change your decisions and you change your destiny. Then comes your focus. Your mind is always filtering reality, selecting what to magnify and what to ignore. And whatever you focus on, you feel. If you focus on what's missing, you feel scarcity. If you focus on what could go wrong, you feel fear. If you focus on what you can't control, you feel powerless. But if you shift your focus toward what you can influence, toward what you already have, toward the possibility in front of you, your entire emotional state transforms. Focus is the steering wheel of your mind, and most people let it drift toward their fears and limitations without ever consciously choosing where to direct it. Taking control means deliberately deciding what you will give your attention to. It means training your mind to look for solutions instead of problems. It means placing your attention on what strengthens you instead of what weakens you. And then there's the story, the narrative that runs silently beneath every decision you make. Your story defines what you believe is possible for you. It shapes your standards, your expectations, your identity. Most people don't even realize they're living inside a story that was created years ago, a story built on past experiences, old wounds, or inherited beliefs. They tell themselves they're not confident, not ready, not talented enough, not the kind of person who succeeds, not someone who deserves more. Those stories become invisible chains. They don't reflect truth, they reflect conditioning. And until you rewrite the story, you will always sabotage your own potential. Taking control requires you to examine the story you've been telling yourself and ask whether it still serves you. It requires you to challenge the assumptions you've been living under. It requires you to choose a story that empowers you instead of limiting you. You can tell yourself you're someone who always struggles, or you can tell yourself that you're someone who adapts, grows, and overcomes. You can tell yourself you're unlucky, or you can tell yourself you're resourceful. You can tell yourself you're afraid, or you can tell yourself you're learning to step into your courage. The story you choose becomes the identity you live from, and your identity dictates your actions more than any goal or intention ever will. When you align your state, your focus, and your story, you create a level of internal power that external circumstances can't shake. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. You stop waiting for confidence and start generating it. You stop hoping things will change and start becoming the force that changes them. This is the core of personal control, the understanding that your internal world is the source of your external results. When you own your state, you own your emotions. When you own your focus, you own your meaning. When you own your story, you own your identity. And when you own your identity, there is nothing in your life you cannot transform.